Tell me who some of your favorite artists are, and if I like them, I won't shoot you.
Okay. I'll give it a shot, I guess. When it comes to reading comics, a lot of the times what will suck me in the most, more than anything, is the comic's art style. Sometimes, and I feel a bit guilty when I say this, more over the story itself. For me, I really love sharp lines and blocky characteristics like most art from Tom Riley. Possibly my favorite works of art can be seen here, and one of my favorite stories he happened to do work on came from a thing called the Thing, Next Big Thing, which happens to be a story where the Thing does the Thing to death. Another artist's work I love is Sean Murphy's. It's in that same kind of level of sharp lines and bold characteristics that really scratches that specific itch in my brain when reading comics. It's really just a unique art style that just evokes a lot of passion, I feel like. And originally, when I went for a couple years not reading comics until I turned about maybe 19 to 20 years old, I was gifted a few copies of Rebirth Nightwing from my hostage negotiator and the paperback for the Batman the White Knight. I fell in love with Sean Murphy's art style along with the story of a Joker going sane and dismantling Batman through using Gotham's legal system so much that during COVID, I felt compelled to read more comics going forward and spreading my love for these comics to y'all. Among Sean Murphy's works is another story called Tokyo Ghost, which is like this samurai cyberpunk-esque story where society has essentially hit rock bottom. I can't really show most of the comic because it isn't quite YouTube friendly, but if I can recommend a crazy story to read, it's certainly that one. Then there's obviously works from Dan Mora, Marco Cacchetto, Jack Kirby, Tim Sale, Darwin Cook, Mark Bagley, but above all else, there's an artist's work that I've really grown to love over the years by the name of Daniel Warren Johnson. You've probably seen most of his work on Twitter or TikTok through his rendition of the inner workings of the Batmobile, or this wild piece of Namor and Invisible Woman, or his beautiful work on the latest run of Transformers, which I may or may not cover on the channel when I exactly figure out what I want to say about it. I mean, just look at this. It's fucking incredible. There's also his work on stories that are astonishing, like Do a Powerbomb or Wonder Woman Dead Earth and Space Mullet, which is so fucking rad, and my opinion totally is not biased by any means. I can't even believe you'd begin to think that. But a story I really wanted to showcase for this video has gotta be his work on 2021's Beta Ray Bill with colorist Mike Spencer. In all honesty, I quite literally know nothing about Beta Ray Bill other than he's like a horse version of Thor. Or at least that's what I always thought he was until reading this story. Before, I only really knew him from the Planet Hulk movie, which, side note, isn't on any streaming platforms. Whomever owns the rights, put that shit up already. There's also his LEGO minifig in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Superhero Squad. Aside from that, I knew fuck all about the character, and I never felt inclined to really know anything more than that he was a horse god with a cool freaking hammer. But let me tell you, man, when I went ahead and read his origin and found out how he became the hero he is today, man, he's just so badass I can't help but tell you his origin. Essentially, while Thor was flying through space minding his own business, using his trusty hammer that no one but himself can lift to guide him through space to do space shit, it's while flying around he notices a space freighter. So he obviously feels inclined to check it out, to find one sole guy bugging the hell out. And when this guy locks eyes on Thor, he thinks he's a demon, or at least related to demons in some capacity. So they begin to fight it out, and while this happens, the guy wields Mjolnir and starts beating the shit out of Thor with his own hammer. When the dust finally settles and the two heroes finally realize that all along they were both good guys, this horse-faced individual known as Beta Ray Bill tells Thor that he's the last of his people known as the Corbinites, from the planet Corbin, of course. And because of their battle, swears to be his undying brother in arms. And from what I can gather, sparked a lifelong friendship. There will be moments in their history where Bill will just borrow Mjolnir and Thor doesn't have a problem. The thing that kinda makes Thor Thor, he just gives to Bill because he's his most loyal friend. We should all strive to be like Thor, man. What a dude. However, because Thor and Beta Ray Bill are two dudes with one hammer, pause. Odin pit Beta Ray Bill against Thor in a match to see if he had the metal to wield his very own hammer. In winning, Beta Ray Bill was gifted Stormbreaker by Odin. Among one of the cool things about Stormbreaker, we find that it can actually alter his appearance to look like a regular Corbinite. Yeah, this sorta shocked me too. He's like an orange Voldemort, but for the longest time I thought he was always an Alpha Sigma horse god. Now from here, Beta Ray Bill goes on to be his own hero for a while, with the occasional team-ups here and there. And when Thor became unworthy to wield Mjolnir, his Chad of a best friend Beta Ray Bill swung in at the first second to get his friend out of his depression and say, "Here you go, buddy. Go play with this one for a while." It's okay. Just as long as you bring it back. The guy is so noble. You really can't help but love him. But how did Thor respond to his best friend's kindness, I ask you? By fucking shattering Stormbreaker into pieces. Okay, a little bit of a side note here. It was a bit of an accident, and much later on, but I just wanted to spice it up a bit for the video. Now, Beta Ray Bill has no hammer. He can't switch between his humanoid form to Horseface, and this really gets to the guy. He starts to become legitimately envious over Thor. Of course, he knows what happened was an accident, but he sees Thor whole, complete, waving his hammer around, King of Asgard, partying with a hammer, with little to no concern for his best friend and how it may have affected his life on a deeper level. With a hammer. I mean, the guy has an on and off thing with Lady Sif, so when they try to do the thing, Sif has to awkwardly ask when Bill will transform into his humanoid form, to which Bill has to painfully say that he can't. Sif isn't into horses, and Bill can't transform, so they sort of just wallow in that little cringy moment for a bit until Sif just ultimately breaks it off with him. This moment is so painful and crushing, and it's what drew me into this story in the first place. See, by now you guys know the gist of me. I'm a sucker for heroes that outwardly look like a monster, but are deeply human and misunderstood underneath. So it hooked me from the jump to see something so deeply sad. And if you're okay with it, I'd very much like to tell you the rest of the story if you'd want to hear. I'm going to tell you anyway. Kicking things off, we're in the past on the planet Corbin, with Corbinites gazing towards the stars with an advanced telescope to see nothing but fire headed towards them. Knowing of their impending doom and desperate to figure a way to stop what's coming, some Corbinites take it upon themselves to go to Beta Ray Bill's home to recruit him for experimentation, stating that he's been chosen. As a much younger and naive Bill comes out curious why there are men at their doorsteps so late at night, only to be met with his mother cradling his head to say, with a voice cracking, with tears streaming down her face, "My boy, my beautiful boy." As we are then taken to present day, with Beta Ray Bill looking upon where his trusted Stormbreaker used to be kept, now forever void. Beta Ray Bill then clenches his fists in anger, only to expel all that anger in a single exhale. Lady Sif walks in to find Bill deep in thought, passing on her faith to Bill that he will win the battle against Null's invasion horde, while also flirtatiously adding that Bill can't die just yet. After all, he still owes the girl a drink or two. Hastily, Bill grabs the substitute axe for battle and rallies the soldiers of Asgard together to prepare for battle. He's giving this astounding speech that all of Asgard is prepared for this day, and that together with their combined strength, it'll mean nothing because a huge ass fist plows through the front gate, sending everyone flying. And as Beta Ray Bill begins to collect himself, a monstrous voice shouts that he is a puny horse face, revealing that supposed horde is actually just a venomized Fin Fang Foom, hungry for some Asgardian meat. All of Asgard tries to take on Foom, to no avail. Beta Ray Bill tries summoning one of his best friends to help in battle called Scuttlebutt, which is a goddamn spaceship armed with God knows what, all directed at Fin Fang Foom. Scuttlebutt fires everything it has, while Beta Ray Bill tries to decapitate the dreadful dragon, only to fail and get the shit kicked out of him at every turn. Everyone is dying, Asgard is crumbling, and all hope seems lost as Beta Ray Bill tanks hit after hit. Yet right as Fin Fang Foom opens his mouth to feast on Bill, Foom is struck by lightning, dispatching the dragon indefinitely as Thor gracefully floats down, surprised him and Asgard had so much trouble putting a stop to Foom, as all of Asgard rally to Thor, congratulating him for saving the day, celebrating a battle well fought with women on one side of Thor and meat on the other. Bill looks upon Thor with nothing but anger and disgust, before he's startled by Pip. Pip, to put it mildly, is Beta Ray Bill's #1 fan, so he starts to overwhelm Bill with "thy glaze," to the point Bill makes up an excuse to head off to his chambers, where Lady Sif catches Bill running off, choosing to go to his chambers together after Bill saved her life now twice over. They begin to get their freak on, and Sif's like, "Okay, when do you become normal?" Bill says, "What do you mean, normal?" And Sif goes, "Your humanoid form. You change back at night, right?" The room goes quiet, and they both realize that this isn't gonna work. Sif tries to apologize while Bill just accepts it, looking at himself in the mirror, wishing he wasn't a monster, and tells her that he understands. he isn't blind, walking out feeling nothing but sheer heartbreak, thinking back to when he was still normal, right before what he'd turn into after the procedure, asking the doctors if it'll hurt, scared out of his mind. The doctor doesn't sugarcoat it. He tells Bill that he will feel pain, more than he could ever imagine, but it'd be for the greater good, introducing Scuttlebutt to Bill before prepping Bill for his change, created to help him in any situation and to ultimately be his companion to face against the looming threat. Scuttlebutt comforts Beta Ray Bill, telling him that he doesn't know what will happen to him, but that it'll be with him through it all, no matter what. Back in the present, Bill preps Scuttlebutt to head out of Asgard, yet while leaving, Thor catches up with Bill to ask where he's going. Bill tells Thor that he's going far away from here. Thor doesn't understand why, to which Bill yells back at Thor that whenever he revels in his own victories, Thor's always there to steal the thunder. Bill has always been second to Thor, and it was Thor who broke his Stormbreaker, his gift from Thor and Odin, feeling that ever since he came to Asgard he's been reminded of his failures, that he has to create a new Stormbreaker, and that he has to make himself beautiful again, blasting off into space, hating the monster that is his own reflection. On Scuttlebutt, Beta Ray Bill figures that if he wants a new Stormbreaker, he's gonna have to find the guy that helped create it, which is Odin. On his journey to find Odin, Beta Ray Bill discovers that a few people decided to tag along without his knowing, like Pip and a fully resurrected Scourge to help him on his journey, cause he pulled a few favors from Valhalla and a bunch of other bullshit. Scourge just shows up pretty much cause he was spying on Beta Ray Bill and saw he couldn't get with Sif. Also, there weren't any guns in Valhalla, so to him it felt like the perfect excuse to leave. But Scourge basically cuts to the chase and says he's gonna help him get a new weapon that can make him whole again and get back with Sif, because Scourge, as it turns out, knows exactly where Odin's posted up. Kicking open the doors to a space bar somewhere in the far-off galaxy, things get off on the wrong foot with some of the regulars sparking a huge bar brawl. I want to point out for a sec that this comic is really a sight to behold. Each panel that involves fighting just drips with excitement and bombastic colors that really bring it such life. And when a character lands a hit, you really feel the impact of the punch landed, just with how Johnson masterfully illustrates the weight behind it. It's incredible. Now, when the fight turns a bit ugly for Bill and Scourge, Pip jumps in at the last second, saving the duo. And just when things are getting good, Odin steps out from the back with a huge keg of beer to break up the brawl. Odin lays eyes on the three and figures he's in for something a tad bit crazy, asking Bill what it is he came to him for. So Bill tells him that he came to him in search for a new weapon, one just like Stormbreaker. Yet Odin tells Bill that what he asks of him is impossible. He's not the god he once was, nor the power that came with it. And even if a weapon like Stormbreaker were to be forged, it'd need sufficient magic to give Bill the ability to change in and out of his humanoid form. Odin tries to comfort Bill by saying that his beauty comes from the inside, but Bill loses it, stating that he's never asked of Odin for anything. And when his son broke the one thing he held dear, and now all he asks for is a solution from Odin, he'd turn him away with nothing? Odin takes a moment looking down at his beer and tells Bill that there is another way, but it is a dark path, one that'll lead Bill to Muspelheim, the realm of fire, where the worst of the worst are imprisoned forever, where the deeper you travel, become darker and darker the deeper you go. There lies the Twilight Blade, a weapon possessed only by the demon fire god Surtur, stating that if Bill can somehow fight through the dark depths of Muspelheim and bear the Twilight Sword, he can use it to revert back to his former self. The only huge threat standing in the way, though, is Surtur himself. This initially troubles Bill because he faced against Surtur once and failed his home planet in the process, with Odin warning Bill before heading out that this journey Bill is on will be one of great terror, setting a course for the Stygian Gate where some of Asgard's most powerful warriors protect the entrance to Muspelheim. Bill reflects on his failure facing Surtur before, that after his home was destroyed and met the gods of Asgard, he thought he could escape his past. Feeling like a fool, he finds the resolve within himself to not fear what is to come and willing to do anything to claim the Twilight Sword. Flying through space, they soon approach the Stygian Gate to find its guards warning the three that they are about to embark on a journey through a realm of sheer chaos, and those who have entered have never returned. With that, Bill and the others accept. Scourge chooses to press on because he is here to see Bill's goal to completion, and Pip follows because he is a troll. In his own words, the definition of repulsive. Bill desires to love himself, and so does Pip. So until he knows how to do that too, he will follow Bill to the end. Barreling through the gate in Scuttlebutt, the realm is exactly how the guards described. Sheer chaos. Flying through, Scuttlebutt begins to twist and turn, diagnostics going haywire, everything's tearing itself apart. The ship's power goes off, and while they try to understand what's happening, a female robot walks into the command deck with the voice of Scuttlebutt. At first, everyone begins to freak out, until the robot identifies herself as Scuttlebutt, and that Muspelheim has changed her. It's awakened her. Yet before any of them can process exactly what's going on, the goblins of Muspelheim attack their shuttle. Rushing through the winding corridors, Pip and Scourge man the turrets to stave off the goblins, while Bill and Scuttlebutt try to repair and steer the shuttle in the right direction. Managing to wipe out the horde of goblins, they all circle back together. It's while together that Scuttlebutt explains that she sort of just appeared because of the energies within Muspelheim, and that after the attack it'll take time to repair the shuttle to dive into the lava deeper toward the Twilight Sword. So all they can do for the time being is wait. During that time, Scuttlebutt visits Bill in the recreation room and tells Bill that the ship will be ready soon, and to also break the ice with her new appearance, asks to play ping pong. As they play, Bill is astonished that they are equal in skill, to which she says that she's been paying attention for years. After which Bill asks how she's even here, how she has a consciousness, and how she became what she is, to which she replies that she doesn't know for sure herself, just that she became less computer and more herself, asking Bill what happened on Asgard in the first place, to which Bill says that he became more aware of himself, his real self, and didn't quite like it. To cheer Bill up, Scuttlebutt takes Bill to a records room of everything in Bill's life. Every battle, every interaction, all here and will continue to grow as long as she functions. Among that, she bestows upon Bill her own custom-made axe made for all his personal needs in battle. Bill thanks her, and Scott tries to change Bill's mind about the sword, trying to tell Bill that he's beautiful just the way he is. But the moment's cut short as they are attacked again by another goblin horde. Coming together, they gear up for a fight to stall for more time while the ship prepares to sink down into the lava. Using his new axe with mini thrusters inside the blade, he slashes any goblin that comes his way like butter. At a certain point, the hordes become endless, and it seems like they'll be overrun at any second as a huge spider-like demon latches itself onto the ship. That's until Bill clicks a button that allows him to throw the jet-fueled axe through the demon's head and right back to his hand, while Scourge revels in the beauty of the battle. With the ship ready, the three rush back inside while the ship begins the dive. Rushing to the command center, Bill steers the ship while Scourge punches the thrusters, blasting them through the layer of lava into what could seemingly be a void, while huge eldritch tentacles slither toward the ship. It's in the next issue where it begins with Beta Ray Bill in some mouth-washing dreamscape walking toward a mirror. Walking closer and closer, his humanoid form regresses into his freakish horse form, screaming in agony. Snapping back to reality, Scott chops Bill out of the monster's grip, recounting that after passing through the lava, everything went dark. The ship is completely offline, and the monster has also rooted itself inside the ship deeply. Bill, opening one of the escape hatches, bears witness to an incomprehensibly large creature, deciding to head back inside because they'd be cooked if they tried fighting it. Coming up with a solution to stop the monster, a loud aching scream can be heard, following Bill blindly running toward the danger, blasting through the door to find themselves at the moment Bill met Thor for the first time, confused out of their minds. Passing through the room, they return to reality and find that the monster has rooted itself in the records room, projecting all kinds of different moments from his past into every different room on the ship. So in order to move forward, Bill has to face all of his most painful memories, like when he was changed, or the painful moment that came right after when he unveiled to himself what had been done to him, utterly crushing him. Passing through, they find themselves at the last moment Bill shared with his mother, who told him that she'd always love him despite what he looked like, before Surtur came and laid waste to the planet Corbin, leaving Bill the sole survivor and a complete failure to his people. Recounting all these moments, he realizes that Scott was always there with him by his side, and Bill was never truly alone. As they enter the records room to find the root of the monster's machinations, Bill slices it with all his rage bellowed inside until it'd be nothing but a bloody paste, ending the visions and bringing the ship's power back online. But it wouldn't do much good anyway because the ship would only have enough power to coast a crash landing. Settling down, they open the hangar bay door to find themselves exactly at the Twilight Sword's resting place. Before Bill can head forward and claim his prize, Scott stops and tells him that his mother was right. Inside, he is radiant, and he never needed a sword or a hammer to prove that. Bill takes a moment, staring at the ground, and says that he wishes he could believe that, but he simply never felt that way. He sure wishes he could, but he feels like he needs to forge it the only way he knows how. Grasping the sword, it explodes with energy as a great and menacing voice shouts, asking,
"Did you think you could just take it, COMICMULLET?"
Blasting through the sword, shouting that the Twilight Sword demands a warrior worthy of its omnipotence, as Surtur grows into a hulking giant, stating that he's been waiting for a worthy opponent, and Beta Ray Bill will do so perfectly. Since Surtur's defeat at the hands of the Asgardians and his daughter ruling over his own realm, he's been deemed unworthy to wield his own blade. But if he were to defeat Bill, it could perhaps make him worthy once more. Bill stares in the face of his people's murderer and screams that he killed his people, destroyed his home, murdered his family, screaming with everything in his soul that today will be the day this foul demon will die, only to be uppercutted by Surtur, shooting him hundreds of feet into the air, after which Bill calls Surtur a coward, fighting in his 8 feet to Surtur's 100, demanding him to fight like a mortal. Surtur accepts and shrinks himself to be just slightly taller than Bill, cracking his knuckles, as Bill attempts to roundhouse kick Surtur's head. The two strike one after the other on some liquid versus solid snake type shit. But sooner or later, Surtur gets the upper hand and strikes a vicious knee to Bill's face. Despite all the power in Surtur's blows and the aching Bill feels, he still presses on, swallowing the pain. As Scott, Pip, and Scourge try to assemble something like a cannon to help Bill in his almost unwinnable battle. As their fight continues, the pain begins to catch up to Bill as he staggers towards Surtur's unrelenting fury, breaking Bill at every turn, taunting Bill by saying that it's the same burning that his people all felt before their demise, reminding Bill of the millions of voices screaming out to him for hope before being extinguished in seconds. Before landing the killing blow, Pip attempts to save Bill by shooting Surtur, which only annoys Surtur to the point he blasts his fist through Pip's chest. But Pip's actions weren't in vain. He placed bombs on Surtur's arm in the process, not strong enough to kill him, but to give Bill a few more precious seconds. As the bombs detonate, Bill gets a second wind and pile drives Surtur, sending his chest through a huge spike. At first, Bill thinks it's finally over, only for Surtur to rise 100 feet tall once again, smashing Bill to a pulp. It's only through Scott transforming into a cannon, and Scourge the only one with enough skill to man it, that he tears up at the opportunity, sets his sights on Surtur, and fires, blasting a huge hole through Surtur's chest, giving Bill enough time to take the sword from its resting place. Wielding the Twilight Sword, Bill walks towards Surtur and slices his head clean off in one swift blow, and states that that was for his home, finally transforming into his humanoid form and saying that this is for himself. Hours of surgery and recouping later, Pip is set to make a full recovery. Scourge says his goodbyes as he helped complete Bill's mission, and while Scott and Bill are alone, they watch a movie about how beauty doesn't come from the outside, but what lies from within. A while after the events that transpired, Pip awakens to Bill at his bedside, thanking Pip for everything he did to help him accomplish his goal, willing to sacrifice everything for him, to which Pip says that he's happy for Bill. He got what he wanted in the end. He's whole again. Bill walks toward the nearby window and says, "You're right, Pip. I couldn't be happier," as his reflection still remains his horse form, ending the story. In short, I found this story to be spectacular, from the story to the pacing to the astonishing artwork. I honestly don't know what else I can really say other than pure glaze, because it's really just that amazing. I love the story for how it tells us, the reader, that sometimes to heal as a person, we have to face our trauma head on, alongside embracing those flaws and imperfections that really at the end of the day make us who we are. Because the more we hide those things away, or choose to run from them and refusal to face those things, the more damage it brings us in the long run, slowly eating us on the inside. So rather than living in denial, but by choosing acceptance, that we become who we were meant to be all along. But with that, I really want y'all to check out my Instagram, my Twitter, use my Fortnite code, COMICMULLET, and with that, I'll catch y'all on the flip side.
I'm on this good cushion alcohol. I'm a ball to the day I fall.